Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today, we're tackling one of those questions that always comes up in pop culture. That big question, where are they now?
And this one is particularly tough.
It really is. We're looking at a whole stack of sources about the recent and very shocking reappearance of a former Nickelodeon star, Tylor Chase.
You'll know him instantly. Martin Qwerly from Ned's Declassified School Survival Guide.
Exactly. And the story here is just, it's one of total contrast. You have the memory of this kid from TV, and then you have the reality of what's happening now.
Right. Our mission today is to sort of unpack that. We've got sources covering the immediate crisis. I mean, the shock of seeing him on the streets in Riverside, California. And we're setting that against this huge, 18-year gap since the show ended.
Yeah, it was late 2025 when these videos just blew up on TikTok. Tylor Chase, his birth name's Tyler Curtis Mendez. He's 36 now.
Which is hard to believe.
It is. For millions of us, he's frozen in time as a sweet, kind of nerdy kid. But the videos, these showed a man who was clearly homeless, disheveled, and just in a lot of distress.
And that dissonance, that shock, is really the starting point for a much bigger conversation. Because this isn't just some isolated tragedy, it's a symptom. It really shines a light on that collision between mental health issues, addiction, and the pressures of being famous so young.
So, okay, let's start there. On the ground in Riverside, before all the TikToks and the viral news, what did the local authorities actually know?
Well, the picture from the local reports is pretty sobering. The Riverside police, they were very familiar with him.
So this wasn't a new situation for them?
Not at all. They confirmed they were interacting with him at least once a week. And crucially, they weren't just, ignoring him. The sources are clear that they regularly offered him a whole spectrum of services.
Like what kind of services?
Mental health screenings, substance abuse treatment, even temporary housing.
But the really devastating part of all the reporting is that he kept saying no.
He continually declined. And
Yeah.
that right there, that refusal, it just highlights how incredibly difficult it is to help someone who is really, really struggling.
The resources can be right there in front of them, but
But if the person isn't willing or maybe isn't capable of engaging, there's not much you can do. And that's why the viral videos, as problematic as they are, prompted this completely different kind of intervention.
from his old colleagues.
Yeah, a much more personal one.
Right, because that response was so fast.
Yeah.
I mean, Daniel Curtis Lee, who was on Ned's Declassified with him, found him almost immediately.
Took him for a meal, got him a hotel room. That was sort of the first step, the immediate triage, just get him safe.
And then Shaun Weiss got involved.
Now, this is a powerful element to the story. Shaun Weiss from the Mighty Ducks.
He's been so public about his own recovery from addiction and homelessness.
Exactly. So when he steps up and says, I can help, it carries a different kind of weight. He publicly offered support, and he actually secured a bed for Chase at a detox facility.
And long-term care, right? At 11 Recovery.
Yes, in San Clemente. So you have someone who has literally walked that same path, reaching out a hand.
And for a second, it really looked like this was going to be a success story. An influencer, Jake Harris, he was giving updates saying Chase was off the streets, getting medical attention.
Healthy and on track for rehab, I think was the quote.
Yeah. But then pretty quickly, people who knew him well started to add some serious caution.
The most important comment really came from Devin Werkheiser, who played Ned.
Right.
He described Chase as a sensitive, sweet, and kind kid, but he was also brutally honest about the core of the problem.
That you can't help someone who doesn't want help.
That's it. He said, with severe addiction and deep mental health issues, the help just doesn't work if the person isn't ready. It shows you the absolute limit of what intervention can do.
Which is just a devastating thought. That even with the money, the facility, the support system, it might not be enough.
And that difficulty was immediately confirmed by the formal process.
The 72-hour hold.
Yeah, so he was evaluated by a crisis center. They determined he needed immediate help, and he was hospitalized by Riverside County officials. A 72-hour hold is, it's an involuntary psychiatric commitment. It's meant to stabilize someone who's a danger to themselves or others.
A pretty serious step. But then the sources say he was released after only 36 hours.
And that short time frame, it speaks volumes.
Why so quick?
Well, these kinds of holds are just incredibly hard to maintain legally. The burden of proof for extended confinement is very high, and the system is really designed just to stabilize in the short term, not to force long-term recovery against someone's will.
And of course, with all the viral attention, the rumors started flying. I saw things everywhere about him trashing that hotel room.
Right, which was quickly debunked. Jake Harris put out another video and said, no, management wasn't upset. The room was fine. It's a good reminder of how fast misinformation spreads.
And there was a GoFundMe, too, wasn't there?
There was. It raised about $1,200 before it got shut down.
Why was it shut down?
His mother stepped in. She reportedly said he needs medical help instead of money, which, again, just puts the focus right back on the clinical need, not just cash.
Okay, so that covers the chaos of late 2025. Now we have to zoom out and look at that huge gap. What on earth was Tylor Chase doing for the almost 20 years between Ned's Declassified ending in 2007 and all of this?
Well, the acting career pretty much vanished. He had one small role in a James Franco movie in 2007, Good Time Max.
And that was it.
Almost. He did some voice and motion capture for the video game L.A. Noire in 2011, and that seems to be the last of his traditional acting work.
So by his early 20s, the industry that had defined his childhood was basically done with him.
Pretty much. And the sources show he made a big shift. He left L.A., moved back in with his dad in Georgia for a while, and then about 7 to 9 years ago, he settled in Riverside, which is where his mother lives.
Trying to reconnect with family, maybe, away from Hollywood.
That seems to be the case. And it's during this time that he starts using his own creative work to document what he was going through internally.
The YouTube channel.
Right. Not for fame or clicks, but for this raw, spoken word poetry about his mental health. We know he has bipolar disorder, and there's this one really powerful poem from 2014 called Bipolar.
What do you say in it?
The line that sticks out is he felt chained now to my bedroom by the gravity of bipolar. He was telling us what was wrong, years before it became a public crisis.
Wow. And he didn't just stop with poetry, he wrote novels.
Yeah, he self-published 2 fantasy novels under a pen name, Shrine Tylor.
This is where the story gets even more complex.
It really is. In 2020, he published a book called A Vampire's Salvation. It's about a magical painter named Shrine who uses elemental art to defeat the king of vampires.
And there was a sequel.
6 months later, so B-E-I-T, says Jehovah, where the characters make it to heaven.
So think about that. In the real world, he's on the streets of Riverside battling these huge, overwhelming forces. And in his creative world, he's a magical hero fighting vampires and finding salvation. It's such a powerful internal conflict.
It's a total split existence. His imagination was so rich, building these incredible worlds, but the actual foundation of his life was just crumbling away.
And we see that crumbling documented in the court records.
Unfortunately, yes. The source material is stark. He had 12 criminal cases since 2023. 8 of those were just in 2025 alone.
Right before the videos went viral, what were the charges?
Mostly things like alleged shoplifting, small amounts, under $950, and being caught under the influence of a controlled substance. That frequency, 8 cases in 1 year, it points to a person in just total deep distress.
And this is where we have to connect his personal story to the bigger industry narrative, because the timing of all this it's not a coincidence.
Not at all. This renewed focus on Nickelodeon stars comes right on the heels of the Quiet on Set documentary.
Right. The one that detailed all the allegations of toxic environments and abuse on the sets of those Dan Schneider shows.
Exactly. So when a star like Tylor Chase ends up in such a dire situation, the public immediately starts asking, was the environment itself part of the problem?
And when you look at his contemporaries, you see just how different the outcomes can be. It's like early fame is this high-stakes lottery.
It really is. There's just this huge spectrum of where are they now?
I mean, look at Drake Bell from Drake and Josh. He came forward in the documentary, revealed he was sexually assaulted on set by his dialogue coach.
A profound trauma.
A profound trauma, yet he's still working. He's in therapy, making music. That's just incredible resilience.
But then you have someone like Jeanette McCurdy from iCarly. Her path was total separation.
Her book, I'm Glad My Mom Died, was a phenomenon.
Yeah.
She detailed alleged abuse, claimed the network offered her money to stay quiet.
And she just walked away from acting completely, rejected the whole system.
And then there's Amanda Bynes. Her struggles were so public for so long, a decade under a conservatorship, and even after it ended, she's still battling with psychiatric holds as recently as 2023.
The pressure was just immense, but we have to acknowledge the successes, too. Miranda Cosgrove has the iCarly reboot, new projects, Victoria Justice, Elizabeth Gillies from Victorious. They've all built stable, successful careers.
And some have pivoted. They used that early platform to build something new.
Right. Leon Frierson from All That is now a musician, a comedian, a podcast host. And Raquel Lee Below from The Amanda Show still acts, but she also runs her own organic hair care brand.
It just proves there's no single path. The same starting point leads to wildly different places.
From chronic illness and trauma to entrepreneurship and sustained success.
So, when we step back, what does this all mean for you, the listener? With Tylor Chase, we see this story that forces you to hold two ideas at once.
On one hand, you have his deeply private, agonizing battle with bipolar disorder and addiction.
And on the other, you have this huge collective experience of child stars trying to navigate a crazy industry and even crazier public expectations.
It just hammers home that early fame doesn't protect you from a crisis. As anything, it can make it worse. And it makes you think about that impossible line between public curiosity about someone you grew up with and respecting a private health crisis.
Which brings us to our final thought, something to really chew on. It's about the viral video itself. You had people like Devin Werkheiser begging the public, stop filming unhoused people for clicks. It's a violation of dignity.
And he's not wrong.
He's not. But at the same time, it was that exact viral exposure that got Shaun Weiss and Daniel Curtis Lee involved. It sparked the real-world intervention.
So that's the dilemma. Is this kind of exposure a necessary evil to get someone help who won't or can't get it for themselves?
Or is it fundamentally a violation of privacy that just makes a horrible situation even worse? That tension between the digital exposure and the chance for real-world help. That's something we all have to think about now.